Let's hop straight into music.
Man.
And that was, so I think when we met at Council Fire, that was the first time I heard you talk about the music interest. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And of I mean, we haven't kept up enough, but it's because we're busy trying to conquer and all the things.
Well, they say if you got friends that aren't busy, they're not doing anything fun.
Right.
So all your friends should be busy, right?
No, but I do know that if I had to make a list of, friends that were meaningful to me, shared interest, and influenced me, someone that I see as a peer or possibly a mentor, I'd slap you in that box so fast.
Man, I appreciate that, Jamie.
So
Same.
I think modern day kind of renaissance is what I think about, because so we created the dopest content brief for you. We've Andrew put together, I guess we're calling it a swipe file, and we're using deep research, and it climbs the web, and we've given it some metrics to spit out, an outline.
Oh man!
So we did some professional.
You find like all my arrest reports and all that stuff in there. Jamie, you're the oddball in the room. You got to get your whoop.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Well, I have an entire year's worth of what's the ARM thing that I got for?
He has a bunch of Dexcoms. So,
Okay, yeah.
And so like I ordered it for a year, and I was going to give it to Harriet. She wound up not wanting it because it happened during birthday or swimsuit season.
Yeah.
I don't want to wear the thing, and I'm like, I've got steps to take to. But she wants a Whoop because she does not want to wear the radiation. She doesn't want the watch anymore. So no, I concur. That'll be next on the.
It's been a game changer for me.
Yeah.
A huge game changer.
So he had a Whoop, and I was like, oh, I should get a Whoop. And then he said podcast room, and I was like, oh, just got rabbit hole. Like, we built podcast room.
You guys, do either of you have an 8 sleep?
Right now, as far as like my sleeping score.
No, have you heard of 8 sleep? Okay, so quick plug to 8 sleep. They make these mattress pads, and they will adjust to your temperature throughout the night.
Oh, a buddy of mine was telling me about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, dude, I have one, and I sleep pretty hot most nights. So I have mine set to be like 10 degrees below the room. And then based on the sleep cycle that you're in, it will adjust and like actually improve your sleep for you based on, if you're in REM or deep or whatever. But people sleep like usually an extra hour with one of these versus just regular unassisted.
I'll take an hour.
See, my wife keeps our bedroom at like 54 to 56 degrees.
Yeah.
Hanging
So
meat.
it's an ice box. Like it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I tell her like 62 is my sweet spot, but she'll set it at 62. But then our bedroom is separate from everything. And I'll wake up and it's like, it's not 62 in here. And you go, the other day I posted it on Instagram. It was 51 degrees.
So I had the app installed on my phone for this very reason. Because she'll say, well, I wanted it at 73. I'm like, no, how should it be at 73 or 74 degrees? I was like, what the H? You know what I mean? And so I got it on the app, and we'll start to go to sleep. And I'll get the app and I go to the Honeywell thing, and I have to type it in. It's where I want it to be. And it's like, I woke up, and it was 70 degrees in here. And I was like, how did it happen? We were both laying in bed, babe.
Yeah.
My
Whoop actually thought I was sick because the first, it's getting your metrics like the first week. So it's looking at it, and it's trying to get that baseline. So the baseline was so cold of, I guess, my body temp that when I brought the room back to like 62, 64 degrees and I had that +1, it's like, ooh, you didn't hit your 5 of 5 metrics. You're getting sick. It's like, oh no, I'm fine, I promise.
So he mentioned Hannah. I think Hannah's one of the most unique, like my relationship, like I love both of them, and my relationship is probably with Andy, and as it should be. But when you think about like a Bonnie and Clyde, I see so much like complementary, and which probably speaks to like the success with your YouTube channel, right? The Peter and Hannah.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys, it's so total powerhouse. What I like about Hannah is there's this like relentless discipline that you can see with her workout, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, Andy's, which I love, was very happy to post pictures. Remember when you posted pictures of the retail with her?
Oh yeah.
And you still had the what was the
Fit Plus?
Fit Plus, yeah. And which I've been telling them stories. I'm like, yeah, I pull up, and I was like parked next to a G-Wagon, and I'm like, oh, look, there's a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Like, I love that. But what am I going to see when we roll up? Hey, there's an R8. Sweet. But so I totally dig anybody that has that kind of. So I'm sure that self-discipline that Hannah has resonates in other parts of her life. But you guys can feed off of that.
It does. It pushes me to even work harder because we're in an age now where, and I mean, you know this, working in the salon business and everything, we're in an age now where money can buy any physique you want.
Yep.
And I was just talking to a few nurses the other day, and they were talking about this new injectable they can do. It's like a filler that now they can put in your butt. And it's the same filler you'd put in your face wherever. It's like 20, 30 grand. But it's like now you can take someone and without even surgery, walk in,
Brazilian butt lift.
boom, they've got a butt. They're walking out, no hill time, nothing. And you can do this everywhere. I mean, you've got so much stuff that it almost takes that hard work away that you really don't have to give. And that's been one thing that, I mean, Hannah had her, boobs done. But I mean, outside of that, it's always just been hard work, hard work, hard work. And, I told her, I was like, we're at a point now to where I think we're going to start seeing that work decline because medicine and surgery and stuff are advancing so much. But where's that going to leave people that are in their 20s and 30s when they get into their 50s and 60s? It's
Andy, to your point, and Andrew and I are building on a business course, and in there we start talking about the mindset of the workforce, and that's a complimentary way of saying young people, or saying anything younger than I think the oldest millennials are close enough to X that we can say the back half of the millennials on down to Y and Z, is that they think there's this life hack for everything.
Yeah.
And like there isn't a diet pill for all solutions. There's a few things that you can get away with. You know what I mean? That can allow you to be successful, but it can't be like your go-to. If you sit around all day trying to figure out how to beat the system, you're gonna should yourself into failure.
Yeah.
Should have done this. Should have done that.
And that's where I think that work ethic comes from that she's had is, and I've got a reel that I'm posting up here in the next few days where it says, hey, you think a body's built this by doing this, but then it goes through all of her highlights of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing sprints on the treadmill.
I love that.
Waking up and eating, 6 eggs and a piece of steak for breakfast, and then going out on an afternoon jog in the afternoon, and then being at the gym at night and getting her adequate amounts of sleep. It's like, and she's been doing that for 20 years.
Your birthday's in August.
Mine's May.
May.
Mine's
May. And you're 42 right now.
Yeah, I'll be 43.
How old's Hannah?
She's just turned 42.
Because y'all are right. Okay. So, and there's 3 kids. Yeah. It's all girls.
All girls except for Lawson. Our middle's a boy. It's 14, 11, 9.
Okay. And if you looked at Hannah and you were like, you spit out 3 kids, you'd be like, I'll call you a liar. But that's just a fantastic tribute to like what's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people are looking for. Who can I emulate? Who can I?
And they'll say, what's your hack? And she's like, oh, and she starts laying out all this stuff. And they're like, oh, no, yeah, no. I mean, like, what's your secret?
Yeah.
She's
Hold
like,
on.
It's all of this. And they're like, well, I mean, surely you take something or no. Because Hannah originally was we were going to kind of do some of the things to boost her where she needed to be. But then it's like, babe, once you do that, you're doing that till you're 70.
That's the go-to. 60.
And it's like, if you do something that's easy, that you can replicate every single day, and then it makes life, in my opinion, easier, because you're just going through the cycles of what you need to do to be where you're at.
Are you following Chase Hughes at all?
Not yet, but I can.
Number one, what's his not psychoanalyst, but in terms of behavior, neuroscientist, and the Dr. Phil, like Wall Street Journal, New York Times, like he's been kind of crowned as the number one, and he talks about how it only takes a little bit of discipline to create the habit, and so you don't have to be super disciplined to, for example, to be like either one of you guys. But you have to make the decision. And he said, in all of your worry, if you'll put together a plan, it'll take care of 50% of your anxiety. Yep. He said, after you take the first step in your plan, you will shave another 25% off of that number, just having to get started.
It's just like you with your business. It's no different. I mean, what's made Jamie successful? What's made your business successful? You've showed up, you found a business plan that's worked, and you've been consistent with it. Someone's going to come here and say, Jamie, what's the shortcut? Tell me the shortcut. Like, I know you've had this for how long? What, 20, 30 years?
Well, it's been around for 45. But here and I, 25 years.
So 25 years. Okay, so Jamie, I'm going to sit here and drink some coffee, and I want you to tell me how I can be where you're at in 25 years, but I need to cut that down to 5.
Yeah. Good luck.
You're not going to have that answer because it doesn't exist. But that's the answer like I get for people that want to get into trading, or other business owners that want to get into like some of the businesses that I've got on the side, or they want to look like my wife. It took you 25 years to get here. It took me 19 years to get here. But tell me the shortcut. It has to exist because that's what social media says. Because I follow this guy on Instagram that said, if I follow his marketing hacks, I'm going to be where Jamie's at in 5 years. And that's the lie that every business owner is getting told. It's the lie that every kid is getting told. It's the reason you've got 18, 19-year-olds that are coming out of high school, going into college, quitting college, and saying, no, if I do what this guy says for a year, I'm going to be successful.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
No.
And they're going to hit a rock wall that's going to be such a huge failure. And after 5 years into it, where they're not where Jamie's at, or they're not where, Andrew's at, it's going to be like, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
I just wasted 5 years of my life. And now you start back at square one. And they try to find another hack. That goes on 5 more years. That doesn't work. When all they had to do was listen to the framework that Jamie sets out. He says, just follow this consistent plan. By year 10, 12, they'd already be on a spot where they want,
Trajectory.
they feel that growth, that trajectory's there.
Let's go. Did you want to add something?
Well, there's a couple things. One thing, Chase Hughes has this saying that discipline is valuing your future self over your current self. And to me, that's my favorite definition of discipline that I've ever heard, because it's so true. Like, if you think about that, what you're saying with people that are looking for the hack, they're valuing their future self. They're looking for the short-term return. Whereas what Chase Hughes is saying is, look at your future self. Look at 10, 20 years down the road and see, how do I become that person? So that's one of the things. The other thing that I think you were kind of leading into there is the only shortcut is modeling people that have been successful. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel yourself, you come to somebody like Jamie and say, hey, Jamie, how do I have that kind of success over 20 years? What mistakes did you make that I can go over and maybe avoid myself?
Yeah.
Or, Andy, what can I learn from you? In trading, like, I'm sure that there are so many things you could show me in trading that, I would never even know to ask about. And so that's where you can get that shortcut to success. But,
all day.
Yeah.
All day. I mean, and there's and I like to say, there's hacks that you can do. Like, hacks in this hair game. The hands to shake, the products to use, and the people to get involved. So you can cut that, pain out. It's like me, if someone come to me and said, hey, I want to open up a meal prep and catering business. I can save you about 3 years of heartache.
Right.
Just follow this.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're going to be successful by just cutting out those 3 years. There's other work that goes into that,
Spot on. And I would change the language and say, so in reference to what I'm talking about from my framework, this isn't a hack. This is the working hard, working smart, as opposed to there's some shortcut. Let's redirect for a second, because I wasn't prepared with my outline for the music, even though we had this conversation.
We can start over here.
So talk for a second about how you first got introduced to music. I don't know if that had always been part of, lifestyle or growing up, but then you had a camp up on, did you say Signal Mountain?
Yeah, Signal Mountain.
Signal Mountain. Yeah. So let's walk through that timeline real quick.
Yeah, so I've always loved music, and I've always kind of piecing the puzzle together for who I can connect. So, I mean, back as early as 2006, 2007, I would work with just local kids that were, producing, doing their own stuff. They'd send it to me, and I had a few people in the music industry. I just tossed it out to them, trying to get a hit here and there. And I just always loved music. I watched my dad. My dad can play any instrument. Doesn't matter if it's a saxophone, guitar, piano, violin. It doesn't matter. My dad's going to play it. So I grew up around that environment and loved it, but I just was never good at it. But I never applied myself to it. I was always, anything with two wheels, I'm on. Strings, I just want to sit back and watch my dad do it. So started getting plugged into the music industry a little bit and going to some concerts, making some good relationships, but was never in the centerpiece of it. And went out to eat dinner with Matt Hollander and his friend Kessler.
Yep.
And we're sitting there eating. And the funny story was, Kessler wasn't even supposed to be there. His name's Kessler Cuffman. He owns Dynamo Studios, which is like a nonprofit studio for kids.
Nashville. Yep.
No, it's actually here in town.
Oh,
it's in town.
So I had Matt on, and he talked about the studio.
Yeah.
So
Nashville Grind. Right.
Yeah, Nashville Grand, which Dynamo's helping them with that. But funny enough, Matt knows I like to keep my circle small, and I don't want to meet new people.
I'm so there.
I'm like, if I meet, because here's the thing, when I meet new people, I'm going all in on a relationship. So if I meet you, we're gonna go eat, we're gonna work out together, and we're probably gonna hate each other sometimes because I'm gonna see you do something. I'm gonna be like, brother, you shouldn't be doing that. And you're gonna see me do something. You're gonna call me out. Like that's what I feel like a true friendship
Accountability, give it to me.
That's it. And Matt calls me. He's like, hey, I know we're gonna meet. We're gonna meet at Common House. He said, but I got a buddy that wants to go there and meet as well. I can kill two birds with one stone. Is it okay if he comes? I was like, Matt, I really don't want to meet anyone new today. This is a me and you lunch date, coffee, and I just want to hang out with you. And he was like, well, I've kind of already told him yes, but his vibe matches my vibe and his vibe matches your vibe. I think it's going to be a good hit. So I get on the phone with him. I told Hannah, I was like, well, I'm going to meet Matt and his new friend, and she was like, you don't sound excited. I was like, well, because now this is someone else I've got to, oh, how are you? How's your day going?
Small talk.
I don't want to do that. So we get there and Kessler's very humble in what he does. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so man, tell me your story. He's like, oh, I've got a nonprofit here. We do some music, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, oh, this is like your typical every Chattanooga music guy where they've got a little bitty studio, they're making music and that's it. So we get done. I start talking to some of my other buddies and we start kind of filling out this relationship that he's got. And to come to find out, it's like, no, this dude's plugged in. Like he's plugged in with the who's of who. I mean, he's got people that are plugged into, Bieber to, Usher to this, to that. I mean, it's just all over the place.
Okay.
Like, wow, this guy's done some big stuff. So then we have Matt's book release in Nashville. So we're up there at the Gibson Guitar Center. We're in the back, and me and Kessler are kind of hitting it off. We've been texting each other in between all this. And I was like, man, this is a guy that can be one of my homies. Like, I see this as a dude that's going to come to my house now.
Okay.
So we're there, we're hanging out, and he comes over to me and went, hey, he's like, I've got to do this quick riff on a guitar, and I've got to send this to Bieber. Do you care to hold my phone real quick? And I'm like, no. He's like, if you just do this, he's like, I'll put you in his assistant executive producer if this song ever goes anywhere. And I'm like, I'll take that all day.
Right.
So I hold the phone, he plays it, we get done, we get talking, laughing about it. Go out that night, we went to House Steakhouse, and Matt was like, everyone just go crazy. So we went crazy, and I don't think a single person left sober from that event. Kessler had to come back home. It was his daughter's birthday the next day, and he couldn't drive home. And I felt terrible because it's my fault. I'm the one feeding this guy shots at dinner. So I was like, dude, I'll get you an Uber back home. He's like, you're going to Uber me back to Chattanooga. I said, yeah, dude, you can't miss your daughter's birthday party tomorrow. So I give him an Uber, he gets back home, and then after that, I signify the relationship. He's like, dude, you're a real homie. Thanks for doing that.
Ride or die.
Yeah, so since then, we become really good. He said, I'd like for you to get involved, in some of the music stuff that we do. I'm like, cool, what's that look like? He's like, we host camps. And they host camps like in, Jamaica to Cape Town, and they bring in the riders. I mean, every rider that's coming in is Grammy nominated or has Grammys, has worked for Khalid, Drake, Kanye. I mean, everyone that's who of who in the industry is going to these camps. So I got plugged in with one, and we hosted one. And then next thing you know, that went great. So then we hosted another one. That went great. We hosted one in Cape Town for Eric Bellinger. That went amazing.
Stop, y'all went to Cape Town.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't go because I hate flying. But the team went and did the whole event. We just funded the event. So we funded 2 camps in Cape Town. And then he calls me and says, hey, Rodney Jerkins wants to do a camp in Chattanooga.
Really?
Yeah, and I just kind of stopped. It's like, dude, Rodney Jerkins is the who of who. Like, if you go to his hits list in Spotify, you're listening for like 6 hours. I mean, the guy has worked with, like I said, Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, to Bieber, Destiny's Child. I mean, everyone. The who's of who is Rodney Jerkins. And he just got inducted into the Music Hall of Fame, which is kind of a big deal.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, I've been a fan of this dude my whole life. Let's get this work. So we worked it up. He comes into town, brings all of his people in, and that's where I got to see the magic happen. And it just kind of, I never said I'm going to be in this industry. I literally just fell into it. So then I was on, they gave me credits for Eric Bellinger's new album, which is, he's done stuff with Chris Brown and all that. So they got me down as a producer and a writer for that album. It's like, I didn't write anything. We just hosted the event, but they give you credits for it.
Yeah.
And then, we've got Hannah was on St. John's new album that just dropped. So she has like a little bitty verse, words that she did on there. And she got credit for that. So it's like all this stuff just kind of spawned out of a quick little meeting with Matt Hollander and Kessler. But the cool thing about it is all the stuff that we do with the music also helps his studio because he's bringing in kids, that are just, I want a better life.
Yep.
And they come in and he's throwing them into the mix of these camps. So they're writing, they're producing for some of the largest artists on this earth. And these are kids that go to Howard. or these are kids that go to Brainerd. And these, so it's what his camp's doing. I think if more people in Chattanooga knew about it, I mean, that thing would be, you would have to be knocking people out to say, no, we don't want you to be involved in this. Everyone would want to be involved because it's for the kids.
That breaks my heart because so I'm in a Bible study with Taylor Hasty. He's the head of school at Silverdale, and he's a spiritual leader for me. But he's in touch with all of other people in education in Hamilton County, and I forgot what the statistic was. I think he said something like 76%. Like the number is up there of the kids that go to Howard. Never leave their zip code. It was like that small, not the state, like their zip code. Because if they can't walk, they're not going.
And some of these kids, I mean, me and Kessler have had talks, and I'm like, dude, some of these kids look at you like they're their dad. Like I'm watching how they body language, high fives, like it's an emotional thing they got going on. He's like, because dude, they don't have a dad. Or they do and they're not present. He's like, Andy, some of these kids don't even see their parents. Like they leave school and they go home. Maybe dad's not present, mom's at work, she's working all day. Or maybe both parents are present, they're both gone.
It's kind of
These kids are literally having to live a life by themselves. So when he opened this up, he's like, it's open arms. Come in here and work with us. And the cool thing is, and you'd appreciate this, they've got a gear room that's about 10 times the size of the studio room. And everything along the walls is nothing but camera gear, mics, lenses. I mean, it's millions of dollars of stuff. That's free to the kids that work there to go shoot content and work at concert venues, to shoot content for local businesses.
Wow.
Just to get their name out there.
Cut down the barrier to entry.
Yeah.
for people that just
So, I
can't.
mean, some of these kids are so talented. I'm looking at some of the videos that they've made at concerts, and it's like, man, who shot that? He's like, it's a 14-year-old kid.
Right?
Yeah.
No, no driver's license.
What? But the kid wouldn't have had that opportunity with that type of gear or got his foot in that type of door if it wasn't for the hub.
What's the name of the studio again? Let's go ahead.
Dynamo Studios.
Dynamo Studios. It's here in Chattanooga.
Here in Chattanooga.
And so I know Matt's working with them, and the director for that studio is Kessler.
Yep.
Okay.
But amazing group of people. I mean, it's unreal what they're doing in this area. And we're part of the BEN project too, which is the new city development that's taking place in downtown Chattanooga.
Okay.
And we've got new music studios that are coming in. We've got movie studios coming in. I mean, like it's pretty wild.
Now, is this in connection with what they're doing sort of on the river where the baseball stadium will be?
Opposite side.
Opposite side.
Yep. So you have the baseball stadium over here. It's split by the interstate. And then the Bend actually sits on the river.
Jimmy White.
Yeah, Jimmy White. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've asked to get him on the show.
Let me talk to him.
Please. And I loosely reached out via somebody that maybe not have, been like,
I
hey,
got you.
so-and-so. But
I'll make some threats
Right.
and throw some bourbon his way. We can get him on here.
Okay.
I'll find a way.
I'd like to get Kessler on too and tell the story.
Dude, all day. We can get Kessler on here easy.
Yeah. That'd be a lot of fun. Good storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
So something that came to my mind while you were talking about these kids and like having a connection with Kessler like he's their dad. It made me think, what was your relationship like with your dad growing up? I mean, you got into motocross, you've had a very interesting path to where you are right now.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned he's into music. How do you think that shaped you and what was your relationship with him like?
Yeah, so my relationship with my dad was weird growing up because my dad was a big, the Peters family is all about work. That's it. You're working for your kid's generation. That's it. You don't have to be present. You don't have to go to events. You don't have to tuck them in at night. You're working for their future. And that's how it's always been. So my dad, in his 30s, was basically his own boss. I tell everyone, Dad technically was retired in his 30s, but he still helped other friends build businesses. He still helped other friends do things. So he was still working. And I had an amazing dad as far as like weekends, if he was home, yeah, we're throwing ball in the front yard. Weekends if he's home, we're grilling out. Weekends if he's home, we're maybe watching a movie. But when Dad went in work mode, Dad was gone. So it was me and my grandfather and me and my mom, me and my grandmother. So my grandfather was the one that got me into dirt bikes. That was his big thing. He just saw, I was real big on BMX bikes.
Remember?
And he saw something I was doing in BMX at a really young age. And he was like, wow, you're 6 years old and you're hitting these ramps and jumps that most adults wouldn't even think about hitting. So he's like, what happens if we put a motor in this thing? So he bought me a dirt bike.
Let's 10x this.
And then that went even crazier. And before you know it, he's like, you're going to get into dirt bikes. And I was like, cool. So that's kind of how I fell into it. I would say me and my dad's relationship really took off probably around 16, 17 years old. Because at the beginning, I had a lot of hatred for my dad. Not hatred, but just upset. Because I'm like, why is dad always at work? You know, why isn't he home with mom? Why isn't, you know, that's just, I was just upset. And my dad was a very rural person, you know, like you have this, if you don't do this, you know, I mean, just, it was that old school, you know, mentality of it. So I just always kind of had that, I don't agree with what you're doing, Dad. But when I was 16, 17, and I started getting older and started getting in the workforce and all this stuff, it's like, oh, wow. I see what my dad was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's made my job easier. He's made my mom's job easier. My mom was a stay-at-home mom the whole entire time me and my brother, you know, lived at home. We went on vacations. We never needed for anything. So my dad's way of giving was a little different, you know, than most dads. So at 17, we developed that relationship. And I'd say we never looked back from then. You know, it's been, since then, he was my best friend. You know, from the time I broke my legs, was in a wheelchair, he was there every single day by my bedside, you know, giving me baths, feeding me, essentially changing my diaper. I mean, everything. And then through relationships, marriage, everything. And I technically lost my dad when I was in my 20s because he had a heart attack and flatlined. So they had to bring him back to life. Had to have heart surgery. That happened again. And then his back collapsed on him in 2023 because he had to have back surgery. Football and just doing dumb stuff when he was a teenager. Came back to haunt him. His back collapsed and he went paralyzed. So I had to have emergency surgery on his back. Got that fixed. And then in June of last year, was diagnosed with sarcoma cancer, and it spread throughout his body. And they had went in, did heavy radiation, finally found a doctor that just basically cut him apart. So they took out his lower back, like upper trap area, just cut his whole back open, took the muscles out, and said, hey, you're golden. You're cancer-free. And that was as of January. So February has his scans solid. March, just this month, well, last month had his scans and had a little bitty thing show about the size of like a pencil head. So they're like, we'll just keep an eye on that. And then 2 weeks ago went in and has stage 4 lung cancer.
Stage 4.
Stage 4.
Wow.
It mutated from the first week of March till now, essentially. So talking about how much my dad's influenced me, you know, all this, everything I'm telling you guys now has come full circle because I've really had to journal about it and say, what's my relationship look like with my dad? Because we're now at stage 4 lung cancer. So what's our next move? Well, we have faith, we pray, we hope, and that's all we can do. But it's caused me to really reflect on, you know, the life that I've had and where I'm at. And I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for my dad or my grandfather, for sure. I mean, as well as my mamaw and, you know, my mom. But he was just that fatherly figure that taught me how to be a dad more than anything. You know, he showed me work ethic. My grandfather showed me massive work ethic. But man, just how to be a dad from the caring side, because that's what my dad did. He cared for our futures. So I've been able to take what my dad gave me for building a future for our kids and caring for that. But then I've been able to take the side of my grandfather being present every day and then how to implement that into our kids' lives now. So it's been a fun last 2 or 3 weeks, you know, going through all that stuff.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
You've done a tremendous job of, and this is just the online presence, of incorporating family, the importance of family. And I think you've always done a really good job of providing the why behind you do what you do. And that has to play into like your role as a father when you're raising the kids.
Yeah. I mean, there's, I always said I wanted to influence people, but when you hear the word influencer, it throws up red flags everywhere. Because everyone's like, oh, everyone's an influencer. It's like, well, I mean, what are they influencing you for? You know, I want to influence people, family first, friends first. And then if we can make money along the way, that's awesome. But there's got to be a foundational point. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these influencers have no foundation. If you take away the cars and the money, they're empty. You know, they've lost their wives, their kids don't talk to them, they have no friends.
Touche.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing there. So it's like I've always wanted to incorporate a more transparent, authentic version of you can still have money and you can still do some really cool things. But why don't people want to see the family side of it? Because you've seen it too on social media. The guys on YouTube, they're posting, you know, the cars, the money, the popping bottles and doing all this stuff. Their views are like this. I mean, just crazy massive. But then the people that are showing a family lifestyle, let's be honest, let's be transparent. This is what we do. It's almost like it's, you know, pushed down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same as this over here. And I think it's a mindset that the younger generation, I can say that now that I'm almost 43, needs to take into account that all these things that their main focus on, you know, materialistic in this lifestyle, you can't get here unless you have this. And you can, but man, this isn't happy. This isn't healthy. Because I know some of these dudes that are over here and they hate life. I mean, they're suicidal at any given moment because there's no substance to this life other than a car and money and random chicks. It's like, that don't seem fun to me, you know?
The depth.
So yeah, I've always tried to keep that depth there from, you know, from A to Z, and hopefully people can read into it and find something that influences them in a, you know, a good way.
I only have notes when people have complicated, vast information for me to have to go over. And so we're going to get into very cool stuff like the crypto, the trading, and that kind of stuff. But since you've already mentioned it, let's go back to the motorcycle career for a second.
Yeah.
Because you were somebody.
Well, I mean, little. I was, the goal was I always wanted to go professional with it. That was my big goal. So in my younger years, I would say 9, 10 to about 12, 13, I was decent. You know, I mean, I'm winning trophies anywhere we go, so top 5. But I wasn't doing anything like this is a star right here. And then when I was 14, ended up getting a Honda. I'll never forget. I was so excited about it. It was a Honda CR80. And we started going to races, and then it was like, oh, wow, you know, top 3. And then my grandfather would sign me up in schoolboy 125C, which was a larger class on an 80. I'm going out and racing that, and I'm winning. And things just started clicking off. So we had a deal worked out with NCY, which is North County Yamaha out on the West Coast. And they sent us a Yamaha. My grandfather got a dealership, a great relationship with RPM, which is Rick Peterson Motorsports. And they modded the engine for us. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. And that was like my breakthrough year. And it's like, oh, this is going to be it. And I crashed during a practice session, broke both my arms. So that put me out for that whole season. So then I come back, and we had a deal worked out with a Kawasaki, you know, dealer. So they sent us all kinds of bikes. I go out, win the Arena Cross Series. I won a Tennessee State Series, a Georgia State Series, and then end up crashing on that bike. And that messed up my arm again. So then I missed the rest of that season. And that one was the tough one because now I'm 16 and I can drive. So I'm hurt. I can't race dirt bikes. I'm not exercising. What do? Go hang out with girls, start partying a little bit. And I'd went from like dirt bike athlete shape to Doritos Mountain Dew sitting in a chair shape. Like it was bad. I mean, it was like a 60-pound weight gain in a matter of like 6-7 months, because my whole entire life has always been cycle, run, workout. I mean, since I was 6 years old, I was always running, working out. My grandfather had a gym that was like, I mean, his garage was probably 30 by 40, and it was a whole gym. So we're just out there working ever since I was a kid. So when I got hurt this last time, it's like, man, I'm 16. I'm going to enjoy life a little bit. Not realizing my whole life had been health, and now I took all that away. So I'm eating out. I'm doing all this stuff. So my grandfather told me, he said, we knew this guy named Shea Bentley that used to race, really, really good rider. I mean, awesome rider. He's won championships like at a national level. And Ezra Lusk, which has won championships at a national level. So we started doing some name dropping, and my grandfather had worked with some guys at Split Fire Pro Circuit Kawasaki, and they were like, look, we can hook Andy up with the sickest bike he's going to get. And when we say hook you up, it's going to be hook up. He just needs to perform this year. Like, we need to get him at Loretta's. We need to get him somewhere where he's moving. If he does, we can move this needle a lot. So I'll never forget it. It's end of 2002. And I'm sitting at my grandfather's house, and this big, you know, tractor trailer pulls up, and I'm like, oh man, what are they delivering at the house? And they start unloading boxes, and on the boxes, it's got Kawasaki on the side of it. And I was like, well, this is interesting. And they start breaking them down, and here's all these new bikes. that are factory bikes, unreal. And my grandfather said, hey, this is your year. You're either going to make it or break it. And I think he did that because he saw how out of character I was acting.
Sure.
And this may, help me. And it did. I mean, obviously I got right back in shape, ready to rock and roll. And we went and started doing practice sessions, getting the bikes ready. And everything was clicking off everywhere I went. I'm running top times with like your top 3 guys. So it's like, oh, I'm about to be on TV.
How much did it make?
Huge.
That bike you're talking about, this is the best bike he's ever going to have.
Huge.
And this is where like the ability plus the tool, the better tool, the best tool.
Such a big difference. We had 3 private tracks that my grandfather had built for me. And at one of the private tracks, just on the newer bike that I had, I was almost 2 seconds a lap faster.
Wow. How many laps in one of these big events?
You'll typically knock out 18 to 20 laps.
Okay.
So, I mean,
How long is the lap?
It depends. I mean, some of them are going to be a minute. Some of them are going to be like a minute and a half.
So average race is what?
Yeah, and if you're indoors, like in a supercross race, you're 40, 50 seconds, give or take. So
right, because okay.
So I mean, when you've got, let's just simple math, you've got 10 laps that you're running, and you're 2 seconds a lap faster. It's a lot of time. That's 20 seconds. That's a gap. So over Andy's old surf versus this new bike, I'm already 20 seconds a race faster. So we went to this place called I-40 in Lenore City. And it wasn't an AMA sanctioned track. It was nothing special. It was just a normal track. But my grandfather said, this will be your first time to get your feet wet at an actual race. Because everything else has just been practice getting the bike set up. So we go up there for the race. My grandmother told me not to go. We're loading the bikes up and everything. She said, don't go. And I told her, I was like, I'm going. She's like, I had a bad feeling. I've had a bad feeling about this for all week. And I had a dream about it last week. If you go, you're going to get hurt. And I was like, God himself will not stop me from going to this race. God's got a sense of humor. So I went to that race, raced, first moto pro class. I finished, I think, like 3rd or 4th. And I knew that I could get, top 2 all day. So the next moto, I don't get the whole shot. I'm in like second,
But
third.
this is at the same event,
Yeah,
right?
it's the same because there's 2 motos. You got first moto, second moto. So at the second moto, I go out, and they had this massive jump at the finish line. It was like a tabletop with another tabletop and a double. And the goal was to jump basically, the camelback over the double. And when I did, I came up short. And the bike threw me. So I got thrown off the bike. It got cross-rutted. And I landed feet first on the face of the landing. And it broke both tib fibs, hairline fractures and stuff in my femurs. I mean, it just blew my whole body apart. I mean, basically everything from my waist down was broke, hanging out through the skin, bleeding everywhere, bit my tongue off, had a slight fracture in my neck, and that was it. That ended it all.
Jeez.
So
how fast are you coming over this jump, and like how far are you?
So that particular jump, I was probably going, I'd say at least 40, 45 miles per hour because it was a really short run at it.
Yeah.
And the distance on that one was about probably 65, 70 foot.
Jeez.
So it was gnarly. I remember the accident because I remember looking down at my legs, and my legs are sitting next to me. And that's all I remember. Passed out. And then I wake up in a hospital bed strapped with all these things hanging out of me. My legs are, up like this with all the exo, skeleton things, whatever hooked up. I mean, it was gnarly.
Was that
That was in 03.
Was that post surgery that you wake up, or was that before the surgery?
Yeah, that was post surgery. I woke up and I was like, oh man, I messed up. My mom's crying. She's like, you woke up, and I'm like, yo, I guess that race didn't work out too well, huh? And that was it. I healed up from it and tried to get back into it, but my body just wasn't the same. It was a lot of a mindset because now I had that in my head that, man, you could have killed yourself. Like if you would have broke your neck right there, your life's done. You wouldn't even known it. You were just out there racing, bam, hit, you're done. Everything, your whole life's over. So started kind of having some talks with myself, and we got out of it. And now my son and youngest daughter does it. How crazy is that?
That was just something we were talking about before this is your creation story, like in branding, how important it is to share the origin and be authentic with that because people connect to that. People want that. If you're trying to be for everybody, if your brand's supposed to be for everybody, you're really for nobody. There's
a guy, his name's Nick Comodino.
Uh-huh.
And he's rough around the edges, but he's a big, he helps, scale online coaches and businesses. And I was on a podcast with him, and I've been following him now ever since the podcast because I like this guy because he's just a no BS guy. He shoots his shot and calls it how it is. And one day I asked him, I went, how does that affect your audience? Like, you say some crazy, because he did like pro bodybuilding, physique guy, all this stuff. He's built like a brick house. And he'll just be talking on Instagram. He's like, yo, if you're watching this and you looked in the mirror and you're fat today, what are you doing to change it?
Thank you.
Like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting here complaining that it's everyone else's fault? And why are we saying that it's okay? I'm comfortable in my skin. He's like, I'm sorry, but I can look at, and he'll start naming these celebrities. They're on this whole thing of I'm comfortable in my skin. He's like, you're not comfortable in your skin. You're selling that because you're lazy. You're lazy that you don't want to put in the hard work to look like you once did. There's no way you're happy how you look. And he just goes on these rants. I'm going, dude,
Raw.
what are you doing about your, he went, if my audience doesn't like me, I don't need that audience.
Yeah.
You just said that.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I started thinking about it because that's how I was. From when I had social media, which was like, when did Facebook come out for college? 06? Wasn't it like 06? Something like that, whatever. So I think I got in right when they opened it up for everyone because I didn't have a college email address. So when they opened it up to everyone, then that's when I got plugged in. So years. In years, even having Fit Plus, I was afraid to say stuff. I was afraid to talk about my money. I was afraid to talk about crypto. I was afraid to talk about my cars because what's going to happen when my customers see this? If I offend my customers, I'm going to lose my money. So I stayed so quiet.
But now, slightly, that's not apples to apples. I think from what he's selling, I don't think he's getting in trouble for being authentic
Correct.
and raw. But, Michael Jordan said Republicans got to buy shoes too.
Yeah.
And at the time, like when you and I met, which was, what did we say, 15, 16?
Yeah, 15, 16.
And so, when you have people that are coming in and getting meals and they're bodybuilders, whoever it is that you could be offending, I think it's a little bit different. You had to have a broad market appeal on the retail side of food. Okay.
And it happened to me.
Yeah.
When I started, because I used to park my R8 in the back, and I parked my Ferrari in the back.
Yeah.
Well, I started parking it up front. And then Hannah stopped wearing baggier clothes because I told her, I was like, babe, I'm just going to be honest. I want to see my wife for what she is. So being honest. She's like, but I don't want to wear that tank top. I don't want to wear those because when I do, it may offend someone. I was like, but I want to see it.
So, well, but I think, okay, where I'm coming from, you're selling Hannah. Y'all were catering to bodybuilders, and I was choking down some meals for Andy.
Oh,
my
dude.
God, I was
This
like,
guy was eating.
but it was like raw. Andy there wasn't any frills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, anyway,
We were the only restaurant in town where all of our food was cooked with reverse osmosis water. Everything.
Wow.
From our steaks to our chicken to our broccoli, rice, everything
Salmon was so
only
good.
water.
yeah.
Wow.
But Hannah is the byproduct of you could look like this.
Yeah.
A little bit different than putting the R8 out front.
Yeah.
But
But it killed our business. Like when I parked the R8 and the supercars out front, and Hannah started wearing clothes that I wanted to wear at Fit Plus more, we watched our business drop, and people would be amazed that it dropped by almost 40%.
Wow.
And we have automation. So when people stop ordering, after like 2 weeks, it kicks out an automated email.
Sure.
And says, hey, we noticed you haven't ordered, we're retargeting them. Here's a 10% off discount. We'd love to have your business back. If there's anything we can do, let us know. And when those started going out, our emails got crazy. And I wish Hannah was here. And it was, well, I know where all of our money's going. We saw your cars out front. I know where all the money's going. I saw your wife's boobs. I know, obviously, you don't need my business because it looks like your life's going well. Jamie, these are local people here in chat that supported our business for months.
Yeah.
So that's when I told Hannah, I went, you know what? Screw it. If we already lost it, I want to talk about money now. I want to talk about crypto now. And that's when I started having the crypto events at Fit Plus. And that's when I told her, start calling out your friends that don't take care of themselves. It's time for us to ruffle some feathers now. And when we did, oh man, I'll never forget, my Facebook account was maxed out. It had like 5,000 friends. And we started putting out like how we truly felt about the economy, money, how people live their life, how dads need to actually show up and be parents to their kids. And then Hannah started talking about women. Have you wondered why your husband's not been, maybe attracted to you? Would you be attracted to you? And Hannah's putting this stuff out. I watched my followers go from 5,000 like friends down to like 2,900. I mean, just gone. And I went, you know what? Those are people that I didn't need to engage with anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exodus.
Let's rebuild this up. So when Nick was telling me that, it allowed me to go back and kind of say, I went through that. I know what that feeling's like. And you're absolutely right, because the people that didn't engage with what I was putting out stopped giving me money anyway for a product.
Yeah. This is something that people don't think about a lot, but like from an evolutionary psychology standpoint, you know, for hundreds of thousands of years, people had to fit into that tribe. Social acceptance was hardwired into us.
Yep.
So people have this fear of what does your tribe think about you? But now we're not in a place where you need your tribe to love you, for you to, you know, have your food, shelter, and water. And in fact, it actually prevents you from living up to your true potential if you care what other people think about you all the time. And it stops you from, you know, voicing your opinions, being your true self, right? And so I think that that's what holds people back, is there's so much fear ingrained of, what if they don't like what I post? What if they don't want to hear that? Well, it's okay, because those people shouldn't be in your tribe anyways. And now by just being yourself and being authentic and posting the cars, posting about crypto, you've attracted and built a whole tribe of people that
Holiday.
actually love what you do.
And
you know?
what's really cool about it is we did picture comparisons a while back of like when Hannah cared, like what her following thought about how she would dress as a mom, because moms are supposed to dress a certain way. And now, and it actually looks like if I took those pictures and did this looks like future state, this looks like younger state.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, there was so much stuff that she was even, you know, I don't want to wear that maxi dress because how are other moms going to view me? I've got 3 kids. I said, babe, you do what you want to do. Don't worry about what everyone else thinks. You do your life. If you want to wear it, wear it. And she did. And I watched her confidence start going up. I watched her attract, like you said, that other group of people now that said, you know what? I want to look like that too. How do I do this? So it was almost like a complete lifestyle change between now being yourself versus kind of keeping that person suppressed, you know, on the side.
When did you close Fit Plus?
2022.
2022. So
April of 2022. Exactly this week. It's been 3 years.
okay. And then now combine, I know the trading and the crypto took off. I mean, you started, well, let me get my notes right here. I mean, Carbon Capital and Pip Connect, Chatted Crypto, which I was a part of. You know, I got to sit on it a few times, and I didn't take the advice. I didn't drink all the Kool-Aid.
And I wish you would
My
have.
life would have been a lot different. I mean, I had Ethereum at like $186 because I'd much rather have it at like 3,000 or wherever it's at right now. But the was that bittersweet closing that down? And how much to the Korean restaurant with the oil situation? I mean, I know you had to shut down.
It's funny. That was when we got flooded out. That was 2018, and when that all happened, I told Hannah we should have shut our business down then, but we reopened it because Hannah wanted to have. Hannah loved customer facing, and she loved having a business where she could connect with people, and she wanted to build something for the kids. That way, when the kids get older to work, we can just slide them in and they just start running the business. They're not having to worry about going out to find this job, and it's teaching them responsibility, and they've been around it their whole life. Like at that point in time, our oldest could have ran that business from cashier to cooking. She understood everything. And I told my wife, let's just cut it down. She said, no, we're going to rebuild. And that's where we rebuilt it. And went from that big concrete bar to the smaller, setup that we had. But to rebuild that, it cost us over 60 Bitcoin. Because I didn't want to get a bank loan. I didn't want to go through that mess. So I was like, you know what, I'll just use Bitcoin. So we cashed that in to reopen the business in 2018, then closed it down 4 years later. Now, fast forward, that amount of Bitcoin would have been worth a lot more.
What was it at when you spent 60?
So when we redid it, I think we were in the like 1,800,000 range somewhere. It was fluctuating a lot. So, I mean, it was still a substantial amount. No, actually, it was. I'll take it back. It was 9,200 to 10,000 because it was almost a $700,000 build when we redid everything.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, because I also made up for the lost business that we had as well because we went without working for 7 months.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
I remember.
So we basically so essentially we didn't lose. We just cashed that money out, put money back in our pocket, and did the rebuild. But I include our business loss in, the rebuilding of the business. It was bittersweet though when we rebuilt Fit Plus and we kind of changed our business dynamics, because when we did that, it was like, we can do more food now. That's when our menu expanded, customer base expanded, as well as the kitchen expanded. But I told Hannah, we're doing everything opposite that we said we wanted to do. I quit corporate America to be at home with our kids. And we created this business to give our kids something. But now we're just taking our kids to work with us. You remember?
Yeah.
They'd be on the couch.
It'd be so much fun. I'd play with all of them.
Yeah. I mean, so it was like all of our kids were in the business, but what type of lifestyle is that? For our kids just to be in the business every day? They're not getting the best version of me and Hannah.
But you know what? In another couple of years, you would ask them, remember when you were like 4 and 5
Oh,
going up
yeah.
in the shop? They could be like, oh, that was so much fun.
Oh, they loved it. Like
yeah.
if you ask them now, they're like, oh, it was so much fun. We got to play. Because, I mean, our customers, like Jamie said, were great. They would sit there and play tic-tac-toe with them, draw pictures. We had a TV, so we'd play movies. Some people were late going back to work because they get engrossed in this movie. And they're like, oh, crap, I got to be back at the office. But I told Hannah, I just want to be more present with our kids. And COVID had a huge hit to do with that, because all of our stuff, we're using, organic products, grass-fed products. Everything was just as clean as you could get. Well, when COVID hit, all that stuff skyrocketed. And then we couldn't get in some of the amounts so it's like, okay, hey, we need 400 pounds of this specific type of steak. And they're saying, ooh, we can't supply that to you. We can only send you 100 pounds. But then we'll send you 50 pounds of this, 80 pounds of this, 90 pounds of this. And what a lot of people don't understand is they're like, well, that didn't happen with me at Outback. Outback still served me chicken. Well, that didn't happen with me at Olive Garden. It's like they're using conventional foods.
Yeah.
If I'd have went the conventional method, our business would have made probably 8 times more than what it did.
Yeah.
I'd have been a very, in my opinion, non-transparent person, because we would have been feeding people crap, which would have taken away from the business model. And the business would probably still be thriving today. But just that little hit when it came in, I told my wife, I was like, I'm not going to do this. So we had to start scaling back on the things that we did. So that's when we stopped being open all day. We would only open from like 10, 11 o'clock.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, close at 4. So we scaled our hours down. And that was kind of that move that was like, ooh, this is nice. We're able to wake up in the morning and be with our kids. We're homeschooling our kids, so we can do all that. And now we've got our evenings back with our family. And once that happened, it was like, okay, this is game over. Let's just close it down. It's not going where we want it to. Our vision's elsewhere. And there's reasons for everything. So we did in April of 2022.
Now the Fit Plus, and I'm connecting dots here, was a byproduct of already being heavy and working out in fitness, coming up with solutions for people that were training. Yeah. And so I'll say that came before crypto. I mean, I think that's an easier.
So yeah, crypto. I started crypto. I started in Bitcoin in 2012, and then got in Bitcoin in 2014. Well, I mean, as far as like crypto as a whole, 2014, Bitcoin 12, 14. And we started the meal prep in 14. It was almost the same year that I started getting heavy into crypto, because I'd quit my corporate job and we were just trying to find something to do. And I was like, crypto is going to be my thing for the rest of my life. I'm not going to work. Well, that lasted for like 3 months. It's like, this is boring. All my homies are working. So I've got Hannah and the kids, but all we're doing is spending money every day, because there's nothing. We can only go to so many parks. And you can only play in the front yard so much before it's like, ooh, let's go shopping. Let's go eat at this restaurant. Let's go to Atlanta. Let's go to Nashville. Let's go to Knoxville. Let's go to Orlando. And before you know it, you're just waking up every day to spend money. So I was like, let's build a business. And we were watching a Jenny Craig. We were watching TV one night. It was a CSI Miami, and a Jenny Craig commercial came on there. And I was watching that and went, people are paying that much money for boxed food?
Yeah.
I looked at him and went, we're going to start selling fresh meal prep. No one's going to buy that. I was like, between me and Hannah combined, we've got almost 100 clients that we were working with at the time for bodybuilding. I was like, well, all of our clients, the biggest culprit that they have when they fall off track is food. Mm-hmm. So let's just give the ones that we know that are like our top 10 athletes free food. But they got to be local to us, because I'm not shipping it. So I sent all text messages, and I was like, hey, next week I'm cooking all your meal for you. Oh, Andy, I can't afford that, or I don't want to spend them. I was like, no, you don't have to. It's going to be free. I'm just going to give it to you. So we did. Because, see, by law, I can cook it in my house and give it to you, and if I'm not charging you, it's free. I'm just handing you food. So I didn't have to have a permit or nothing. So we did, and I did that for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then I realized, wow, they're keeping their gains. They're looking better, and this could be a moneymaker. Well, then they're like, hey, my aunt wants in on this. Hey, my uncle wants in on this. My coworker wants in on this. So I was like, ooh, this is going to be tough. So I was like, all right, well, here's what I'll do. Just for a month, I'm going to take your business. And I probably shouldn't because there's laws against this, me cooking in my house for your food, but I'm going to do it anyway. Every once in a while, you got to be a rule breaker. So we did. It snowballed so fast, Jamie. I opened up a Google Doc for people to go because I just had a Google Doc. That's how like low key this was.
Yeah.
And they went and filled out the Google Doc. Me and Hannah, I'll never forget it. We woke up because we did all of our food prep on Friday to get everything ready, cook on Saturday, pick up on Sunday. And we're sitting there on a Thursday. I'm doing all the numbers and calculating. I go in, I refresh the Google Doc, and normally we're like 20 orders, and we had 280 orders. And I went, so I was like, I've got to refund these people their money. We can't cook this much food. There's no way. So I started emailing them back. I'm like, hey, I'm going to have to refund your money, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, no, like, figure it out. I want your food. I've sampled it. It's good, or I've heard about it. I was like, Hannah, we got to do something. So same day, this is on a Thursday, I was like, well, look, let me just push your order out 1 or 2 weeks and I'll figure this out. And I went down Battlefield Parkway, and there was a restaurant there called the Warrior Restaurant. And this lady named Barbara owned it, and got in touch with her. And she was like, it's a declining restaurant. You know, the guy that runs it isn't taking care of it. Would you want to come in and take over the restaurant? I was like, I just want to come in. I just need your business. I just need the building. So she's like, cool. Within 1 week, I'd signed paperwork, had moved in the building, and already started gutting it to get new equipment in there. So we did. And then we reopened it and took those people's orders. And we worked out of there from 2014 until 2016, 17, doing some stuff here and there and catering and working, open up a coffee shop. And it was like, man, this is going to be the next big thing. And that's what caused us to open up on Lee Highway next door to Planet Fitness. But you're going to notice everything in my life never has a plan. It just snowballs into, like, music didn't have a plan. Crypto didn't have a plan. Meal prep, commercial. Everything's just always been, oh, that's cool. I'm going to do it. And that's just how it's always worked out.
Something that I've noticed as a theme is you keep talking about your family and wanting to be a dad, wanting to be present with the kids. And so can we get into that a little bit? I want to hear about, I mean, your approach to parenting is pretty unconventional in that you travel around with the kids, you homeschool, they're in motocross. So how do you approach parenting, and what made you want to be a parent like that?
I think when I realized that I'm going to die, we all are. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And I live my life. You know how you tell people, live like you're dying? Who's that sing that? Tim McGraw?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Tim McGraw sings that song. I live that way every day. It's something that I have anxiety with, and I have ever since my first daughter was born, Lainey. I remember giving her a bath, and, you know, she's like 1.5. And I'd sit there and anxiety would hit me, and I'd just break out in this like sweat. And it's like, oh man, what happens if, like, I tuck her in bed tonight and I die? Who's going to take care of her? Who's going to make sure she grows up and doesn't end up on a street and has this? And everybody say, oh, don't think it like that because you've got an amazing wife and you got great, you know, amazing parents. But what happens if something happens to my parents too? And then something happened to my wife, and now my daughter's 12 and has no guidance in our family. What's going to happen? And that stayed with me ever since. So, I mean, even to this day, last night, it's bedtime. We got all the kids in bed. I tuck them in. I'm ready to get in bed. I walk down our steps, tell the dogs good night, and I'm like, oh, man, this could be my last night. And I'll go upstairs, and I'll take a picture of the kids in bed, and then I send them a text message to because some of them have iPads. My oldest, Lainey, has an iPhone. I'll send them a message. Hey, baby, if this is the last message I ever send you, I just want to know I'm proud of you. Today, da-da-da. And I'll journal out that whole day. And my friends are like, dude, you're crazy. It's like, but I've always thought that way. So I've just always wanted to be as present and in their life as much as I can, because I know at any given moment that could be stripped away from me. Like, I physically live that way, where a lot of parents don't. A lot of parents are like, I'm good. They're going to be there next week. And it's like, well, and maybe that's because me and Hannah have had so many friends pass. I mean,
That'll do it.
Yeah.
in the last 2 years, if I had to guess, I'd say minimum 30 to 40 funerals, minimum. And of those funerals, probably 10 of them kids.
Wow.
So it's like, it's on both sides of the spectrum. It may not be the last night that my kids see me. It may be the last night I see my kids. So when you live in that, I hate saying the word, but fear, it causes you, I think, as a parent to step up, because you realize this could be it, you know? So, I mean, that's kind of just been the base of everything. is I just have that fear of not being present. But that also goes into my marriage of why I want to be present. Because it's like, okay, if I can be the best dad to my kids, and I'm talking best dad, and I can be the best husband to my wife, well, guess what? If something happens to me tomorrow, today, whenever, my wife is extremely attractive. She can find another husband that's going to love her, care for her, and she can probably find another good husband that's going to be a father to the kids. That typically is going to happen. It's not like we're 70, 80 years old. We're young. So if something happens, another man's going to step in. I have to set that bar, though, so high to my kids and my wife.
Damn straight.
That now, if another man does step in, even though I'm in my grave, I can still be happy for my wife and I can still be happy for my kids, because if that bar is there and he can beat my bar, that's even better. If someone can come in and beat the bar I've set as a husband and a dad, whew, man, yeah, I can rest in my grave all day. But if that bar's not set, I'm setting something super low. Like there's some men that can be replaced by the dude holding the sign over here in front of Walmart.
Yeah.
So what's that giving your kids and what's that giving you, your wife? So I guess that fear of knowing that there could be a day I'm replaceable. Yeah, I've got to set something high to where my kids go, oh, let me tell you what my dad used to do. He would tug me in every night and he would tickle my back for 45 minutes. Let me tell you what my dad would do. He'll go in the front yard and help me build my motorcycle. Or my dad will go to the barn with me for an hour or 2 hours while it's hot as crap in there with flies going everywhere. So if something happened to me and new dad steps in and he can't go to the barn because of flies or because it's too hot, he's gone. He don't fit the mold. Mm-hmm. So it's just creating that mold that someone else, if they did have to fill. I mean, hopefully I get to grow old with Hannah and we get to have an amazing life and I get to see my kids grow up. But sometimes that's always the cards we're dealt. So that fear in the back of my mind's always been there. It's like, man, I just got to show up and give them the best that I know how to give them.
We're going through a different kind of fear at the house right now. And I don't have, yours is a finality, right? There's a finite, yours is worst possible case scenario. Like, what if I'm not here? Something that, and I just mentioned Taylor's name earlier. One of the things that he brought up in one of our Bible studies, he said, you're never going to know when it was the last time. Mm. And so what I'm talking about, when I'm talking to new parents, and I've got clients that are having kids, and I've been doing their hair since they were in 5th grade, 6th grade, which that's a fun evolution to go through. But they're like, oh, man, diapers. Oh, man, bottles. I'm like, don't wish away any stage. No. I was like, it is going like that. And then the next thing you know, like, what are you living for? We've had 3 nights this month where we had no kids. We had 3 or 4 hours. And the first time it happened, Harry and I were in the kitchen going, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Mm.
Like, should we go on a date? Like, it was confusing. Actually, we both admitted that it was frustrating not to have this schedule set up where we had to go care for somebody. Yeah. But, Melina's going to graduate here next month, and I'll have 1 out of the house, and it's like 1 down and 2 to go for the empty nest. And so the fear that I'm living with, and it's really, when they start getting driver's license and things, is that point where you're starting the transition, thinking about the transition of being a parent to being like a peer. Yeah. Friends, your mentor maybe is the role that you're moving into. But Melina's Big Things Theater, and she had the fall theater production, and I was just standing there. We were clapping for her, and she goes, the next one's the last one. And I started, I ugly cried right there. Done. I was like, I was doing great, babe, until you poked me in the ribs and you were like, the next one's the last one, which is coming up now in another couple of weeks. But like, it's graduation, it's prom, and it's all the last. Yeah. And then she's gone in August to.
And it's a fine line. It's even like me. I'm a neat freak at home. I'm so meticulous. It gets on Hannah's. If you were to ask Hannah, what's the one thing
Amen,
that you could take away from your husband, she would say for him to chill out. Yeah. Like, I can't. I come in the house and it's like, why is this on the counter?
Yep.
What's the kid's water bottle? Okay, but why is it there? And why is one over there? And why is there I just love things to be in place and organized.
Everything has a home.
That's it.
Everything has
so
a home.
Simple. So I keep it that way, and it just gets on. So I started this new thing. It's not a new thing. I've been doing it for years. If I go to bed and there's stuff out, I grab the mini trash bag and I just throw it in it. I don't care if it's your most favorite shirt, your most favorite pair of shoes. If it is out, It's being thrown away. And my kids didn't think I was serious until I started throwing stuff away. So it's a one, but then there's that part of me, it's like, and it's so cliche because we see it on social media all the time. This mess is only going to be here for so long.
That's right.
So I've had to kind of just, as much as I don't want to, I've had to pull back a little bit, you know, because I go in their rooms and my kids just go nuts because they've got, you know, Hot Wheels to Barbie dolls, all this crazy stuff. And when I was a kid, it was like, okay, when you went to bed, your room was clean. My dad and mom's rule was when you went to bed, you could vacuum your floor. And you could dust your desk. You could dust your, that way there's nothing out. So I tried to implement that rule. But it's like, now I'm taking their kid, to them, that's not a mess.
Childhood.
To them, that's their playground. To them, that's their, so it's been something I've had to deal with of, you know, but that's what made me think about it. It's like my oldest, I used to play Barbie dolls with her in the room. I didn't know the last time I played Barbie dolls with her was going to be the last. It just happened. I mean, just boom. And so I start thinking now, my son that's 11 and my daughter who's 9, who turns 10 in just a few days, she's still in that baby stage. And I'll go in there at nighttime, and she's got all these stuffed animals in her bed.
Yep.
And each stuffed animal has a story for the night and all this stuff. And I sit there and I'll like prop my phone up sometimes and record it. 'Cause it's like, when's this going to be that last? You won't know.
Yeah.
You'll just wake up one day and you're like, oh man, we didn't do the stuffed animal show anymore. You know? So I think as parents, it's something we got to be more mindful of. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of parents right now, Jamie, that are blind to everything because that little glass device they hold in their phone, hold in their hand. You know, I don't think they realize all the moments that they're missing. And I don't think they also realize the importance of some of the stuff that's going on. Because you know, my background's obviously coaching people now, and I coach a ton of dads. Ton. Common denominator is they're not present with the things that matter at all. You know, I had a group call the other day. There was 38 that were on the call, and I was like, out of everyone here, be honest, who here has tucked their kids in bed this week? One person raised their hand. I was like, 2 weeks, we had a couple more hands. A month, still didn't hit 50%. I said, all right, guys, for those of you who raise your hand, unmute yourself. I want to hear what's going on. And I mean, dads were honest. I mean, we work all day, we come home, and the wife puts the kids to bed while I'm taking my shower and getting ready for the next day. But do you know what that means to your daughter? Do you know what that means to your son? It means a lot. Because you're setting things in them. You're planting that seed for your little daughter on what to expect out of her future husband. And you're planting the seed for your son on how to be a future dad. So if we wonder why society is where we're at, where kids literally live at home with both their parents and feel like they don't have parents, is because this just kind of keeps mutating time over time over time. And we get to a point now where these kids come up and they're like, well, I'm not taking my kids in bed. My dad didn't do it with me. That's mom's job.
It's really interesting. My wife is 25 weeks pregnant right now.
Dude, congrats.
So,
Yeah.
Now,
I'm
she wasn't
so
pregnant
excited.
then when we met at Council Fire, right?
No. We met
'Cause that
like
was what-
6-7 months ago.
Yeah.
Was it summer?
No, it was fall.
Yeah, it's
November.
fall. It's like October, November.
Yeah.
Okay, she might have been pregnant, but I don't think so. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a quick 25 weeks.
You were just
but
planting the seed at that point. No.
yeah, I mean, dude, we
This is awesome.
So a couple of things. One, we just realized that like 15 weeks from now is when the baby is here. And so it's like that 25 weeks has been fast.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even faster to get to that, 15 weeks and the baby's here. So I'm starting to get a little nervous. Something really cool is I track my blood work pretty meticulously. And for like a long time, my testosterone has been like in the 580s, 590s. In January, it shot up to like 830. And then last month, we were in the 916s, completely natural, like taking nothing. So I was just like, wow, the only thing I can think of is that I've got a daughter on the way. So
It's well, and people forget that. It's so funny you mentioned that. I'm not going to talk about it on here because there'd be way too much. But I've got a group chat with all the homies. And look at this. Yesterday, I know the camera can't see this. These videos in here are me literally talking about testosterone, life, healthy living, and I mean, I go in on these guys. And I mean, this went on forever for us talking about it. So it's funny you brought that up because I told I was like, testosterone is made in the testes, but it's a brain signal.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a brain signal telling it to produce more. So in yours, you heard like alpha dad. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
When you've got a baby on the way and you know life is going to change, it's the natural response to the body. And now I've got to protect even more.
Yeah.
I've got to take care even more.
Okay, protect. I like that.
You do. There's so much more to it. And you'll notice even a side of yourself that is going to be like, I didn't even know this side was here.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I'm already starting to notice that. And like something, my wife and I, we talked about it a lot, and she's going to be a stay-at-home mom. And so like there's more pressure on me to provide, but I'm like excited about that. I'm all in. And then the other thing is like, we've been talking about this, and now with the state of the world, the way that things are, AI, if you can afford to homeschool, you almost can't afford not to.
Yeah, well said.
Man.
Like if you can afford to take control of your kids' education, to get them in front of those AI tutors, whatever it is. Like I was watching this video of this AI tutoring system for math the other day that adapts to your kid's learning style. And this is like Gen 1 of this. Uh-huh. And think about how good this is going to be by the time my kid is 5 in 2030.
Teachers are amazing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm not discrediting any teachers. I have a newfound respect for teachers when I started doing mentoring through the YMCA. So I worked under Trip McCauley, and he had me mentoring at middle school and high schools. Trip's an amazing guy. And he basically, I just came in his office. He said, "What's your passion?" I said, "I want to help people." "Can you help kids?" I was like, "All day." He goes, "Can you pass a fingerprint and background check?" I was like, "All day." He's like, "I'm going to put you in middle schools and high schools, and we're going to have you work with kids that have had behavioral issues, kids who possibly don't have a dad, and we're going to see what you can do with this." And I did it for years. And we watched kids' grades increase. We watched them not show up tardy anymore. And now in class, yes, ma'am, no, sir, everything changed. So, that taught me a lot as far as like, the parenting side of it, how to be present and all this stuff. But dude, I'm telling you now, like whenever we look at teachers, that's what gave me that respect of, wow, these teachers have a lot on their hand. They're basically these kids' moms and dads.
Yeah.
And they see them more and interact with them more than their own parents do. However, what teachers are teaching today is not following where the world's going.
Absolutely.
And that's the hiccup is kids now need to know about finances at 10, 11 years old.
Sure.
They need to understand how the world works, economics, how to move money around, how to start a business, how to be an entrepreneur. And my kids already at their ages, like I said, 9, 11, and 14, my 14-year-old has a cryptocurrency investment portfolio. Mm-hmm. My 11-year-old, he has a safe where he keeps all of his money. And he'll even come to me. He's like, "Dad, can I make you a deal? What, if I save $100 this week, will you give me $100? It's like, "Well, buddy, that's a really big APR. But if you can get 100, if you can get 100 this week, I'll match it for you." But to show you how hungry he is, think about it. We all have that one friend. It's like, "Bro, can I borrow $200? I'm short on this." I mean, how long have you known you're going to be short on this? 3 weeks. Rent's coming up due. My son wanted an Oculus Pro. And I tell all my kids, anything that you buy that is like extra in your life, that you want extra, you've got to buy it yourself. I'm not buying it for you. You're old enough, you can figure this out. And so me and Hannah's other friends were like, "You're going to make your 11-year-old buy his own Oculus?" I said, "Because he'll figure it out." Andy, that thing's like $500-$600.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out. Okay. He figured it out. It took him 2 weeks. Took him 2 weeks to make that money because he started hustling. He went in his bedroom and found toys that he wasn't playing with anymore. And he's like, "Oh, I could sell this for $10. I could sell this for $5." So he got on his iPad and started messaging all of his buddies. "Hey, you want to buy this? Hey, you want to buy that?" And they're like, "Sure." So now I got parents hitting me up saying, "Hey, your son's selling me this. When can we bring you the money?" I'm like, "Just Venmo it to me. I'll give it to my son." They Venmo me. I handle loss in the cash.
I love that.
Well, then he got smart. He went on his computer, printed out this little price list sheet of chores. Keep in mind, we don't pay our kids for chores because I'm not going to pay my kids for something that they should be doing anyway to learn the skill in life.
Right.
Because when you get in your 20s, no one's paying you to do your dishes. No one's paying you to do your laundry, even as a teenager or whatever. So he went to his 2 sisters who have a chore list and said, "Here's my price if you want me to do your chores for the next month."
So good.
And Lyndon is like, I mean, yeah, I'll pay you an extra $20 to do the dishes for the whole month. I don't have to do it. And Lane was like, I'll pay you this. So he started collecting their money. And before you know it, it took him 2 weeks to save up to go buy that Oculus, and he's 11. But you have adults who need $600 now and go like this.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? I guess I could call him. I guess I could call her. It's like, if an 11-year-old can get that creative, anyone can. And then my youngest, she makes bracelets, necklaces. She films short movies, and they'll sell that to like a little. She's like, hey, if you pay me $1, then I'll send you my movie we made.
That's awesome.
And she's hustling, and she has a folder. Like, it's crazy. When you open it up, it's tithing for church. I kid you not. She has a thing in there for tithing. She has a thing in there for going out with her friends.
Is this the baby? That's mine's.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hearing some of the same.
Yeah, she has all this, and I'm sitting there thinking, now here's the thing, that could be present if she was in the school system, because that still comes back on the parents
Sure.
all day. But we've been able to implement these practices to where to them, it's second nature now to understand how business works, problem solving. So I'm starting to see that more with kids that are homeschooled. The problem solving skills are on a whole other level now because you don't have that teacher to say, how do I do this? Or a book. It's now when my kids come to me, and they'll have me say, Dad, how do I fix this? Figure it out. Just figure it out. Give it a dare. No, Dad, I need this done now. It's broke, like a toy or something. Go in your room. Here's a screwdriver. Figure out what's going on. And guess what? If you break it and you can't get it put back together, cool. We'll figure it out together then. But at least try to figure this out. And I've found that more times than none, they're figuring it out, So I think that's the cool thing with the homeschool side is the problem solving. But one thing that you've got to do with your newborn that I didn't do, man, do some of those cool pictures where it's like, maybe sitting in the window the same time every week.
Oh, yeah.
Or have the kid, my most favorite one I've seen was a camera that a guy set up. And he's on one side of the room and his wife's on this side. And you can't see either of them. And the kid, the baby, as soon as it can start walking, walks from this side to this side. And then they recorded that like every month. And he does a time lapse. And it shows her as a baby all the way to her graduating to getting married, walking through the hallway. And I'm sitting, I get goosebumps talking, and I'm sitting there thinking, why wasn't I smart enough to do that? I could have went to the same playground. I could have went to the same anything, So you being as creative as you are, stuff like that's just.
So the problem is I do this for work, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it hinders my my desire to do it just for fun. I always have such a good time when I go shoot photos and things for fun. But, it's just, there's more resistance for some reason because I spend so much of my time.
You want to live in the
cameras.
moment. Yeah, you want to live in the moment.
Yeah.
So we did things a little differently. It's kind of weird for some people because they come to our house and they're like, bro, you got Google cameras all over this house. It's like, well, what you don't know is we record our whole home.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not in the bedrooms, but in our foyer, my media room, we've got a living room, a theater room, another living room, a kitchen, a backyard, front yard. And there's sometimes I just go in there and click record all. And I'll record for 15 minutes. And I'm capturing
Just life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then go back one day. And we've captured some stuff that's like, oh, that's showing at someone's wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's something we have to show one day. But I mean, there's just so many hacks now with technology.
Yeah.
That even the best thing that I've done here lately is I just give my kids, I've got the 360 Insta Ace Pro. And I just give it to my kids. And I'm like, I want you to record until the battery runs out.
Yeah.
And they take it. And when I go back and watch it, there's been times I've laughed. There's been times I've been mad. But then there's been times I've actually cried because they're recording themselves just like my daughter would set it on the table and just start recording. And she's talking into it, not thinking, well, Dad's going to go back and watch this. Because they're just recording. And then I go back and watch it. It's like, I could have never replicated that if I'd have been behind that camera.
Well, and she would have said something different, not
Exactly.
because she went into her world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of father daughter. So does DJI have a version of that, or is the Insta360 just a GoPro?
You got
No.
the Osmo 3.
Yeah. Well, you have that Osmo Action 5 too.
But that's different than a 360 is different. Is the camera?
So the one that I have is not the true 360. It's like the GoPro version. I got it because I'm a sucker for Leica cameras. And it had a Leica lens on it, so I got trapped into it.
One of my buddies just bought a Leica M3, and I'm severely jealous of that.
They're solid.
Yeah.
I just got rid of a MQ.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I used to shoot in black and white.
It's
all
like the Porsche of camera equipment. Like they're stupidly priced. They're really nice. You know those lenses I was showing you, those vintage lenses that I was talking about collecting? Those are all Leica. Yeah. And so get this, the Summicron lenses from Leica, if you can get a set that's like 30 or 40 years old and it's all within a couple of years of each other on the serial numbers, if you have a full set of their primes, they're selling for like $40,000-$50,000.
I believe it.
It's hard to collect though. I mean, like
That'd be
very, very
awesome.
hard. You might have to go to Japan to collect them. I mean,
Yeah, the Leica cameras are nuts. I fell in love with it because I used to shoot just a regular camera and then, take it to black and white and post. And my buddy was shooting. He was shooting with the Leica, the Q series, and he went, "Dude, it's a black and white camera. It's made for this. Shoot with it." And I went, "Oh man!" Like just what it picks up and how it looks. I was stuck to it. But I had two of them, so it's like I'll sell one. So I just sold it to a buddy of mine. Now he loves it. But as soon as I saw Insta360 with the Leica lens, I went, "Eh."
Is it the whole camera or are they just in the glass?
It's just in the glass.
Okay.
Yeah, their glass is unreal. I mean, obviously their camera does some really cool stuff too, but I mean their glass is just unreal.
they're known for the glass. Like that's what people buy Leica for is usually the lenses. I mean, also the body and the brand, but yeah.
It feels good in your hand too.
Yeah.
Because they're really compact. They're not big camera. Now, if you get some of the larger ones, they're more bigger. But their standard cameras are all really compact.
It feels like it's just like a solid piece of metal. Is almost what it feels like. It's cool. Very manly.
I'm going to jump back for a second. Community comes up a lot with you, and it's interesting. You almost have to be a conductor in order to get people to want to follow, and and you have this cool opportunity to indoctrinate. And a lot of that I saw firsthand when we were doing Chatted Crypto, and then Carbon Capital, and you made that jump to like foreign exchanges, and so I wanted to talk about that for a second, and then tie into the trading component. It's one thing just to be like, oh yeah, we're buying and selling crypto. Here's how you say, because in the beginning it was this huge mystery as to how to set up your account, having a wallet.
Well, it used to be hard.
Yeah,
because you'd come in with your computer.
Yeah,
I remember.
And then, those things have simplified.
Yeah.
But now one of your primary go-tos for education is on the trading side. You're trading your personal algorithm, and the software that you're using, which is fascinating. Like I've spent like 10 minutes showing him some technical analysis, and it looks like a kindergartner did it after you watch, one of your I don't know if you want to call it a podcast or your YouTube channel or even one of the Instagram shorts. But let's get in there for a second, because you've gotten people to come, not only good at it, but then you've gotten people to buy in and to follow you along the way.
I wanted people to see there's just another way to make money. And it's like you can open up a business, you can become a business owner, you can do all these other things, but now you're always at the disposal of a community or a clique or having someone buy something. But if you're a trader, it's always in your hands. It doesn't matter if you are in another country, comfort of your home, having coffee with someone. It is in your hands to just click that button. You got to have a computer. You got to have internet. I mean, that's really it. And you've got obviously know what you're doing a little bit, but that's what I wanted to promote to people is you can do something different. Whether it's an extra $200 a day, whether it's an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a day, it's there. And there's someone making $100 and there's someone making $100,000. There's probably someone making $1 million. There's also someone losing 100, someone losing $100,000, and someone losing $1 million. So, I mean, you've got to be smart with what you're doing. So it all started with Hannah. Again, I was trading one day and I hit this massive trade. And this was back right because Chatted Crypto, like I said, I had my crypto group. And that was in 2016, 17, all the way up to 2018. And then I quit that group and switched it over to the Pip Connect. I basically just rebranded it. And when I rebranded it, we're trading all this stuff, but I wasn't showing people how I did. It was more or less just education. So one day I have this massive trade. And a few buddies are at the house, and I'm jumping up and down. I'm high-fiving everyone. We start pouring some crazy liquor. And that night we were in bed, Hannah went, "Why didn't anyone else make money?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Well, all your friends were hanging out at the house, and you made like $40,000. They made nothing." Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they didn't want to. She went, "But why?" To me, that's weird. She's like, if I've got a friend that's doing something.
Great question, by the way. Like I'm like, well, why didn't I make 40 grand?
Yeah.
I knew you at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Hannah, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
So Hannah's like, why?
So we have a conversation as soon as it gets over here. I need to talk.
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So Hannah's and I went, babe, I don't know. And she was getting, like, we're laying in bed and she's agitating me. I'm like, hey, this is our safe space. We're supposed to be in good moods. I can't go to bed mad and you're upset. She's like, no, babe, think about it. If you're making this money and your friends aren't, where's the disconnect? I don't know. Maybe they're done. Like, I'm just trying to end the conversation. And she went, no, babe, you have really smart friends. So why? It's like, I'll talk about it tomorrow. We're going to bed. So the next day I'm journaling and I started thinking about, why aren't my friends? Like, why isn't my family?
First of all, I love
Making
the way
the
she
same amount of
pushed
money.
you. I love the way she was pushing.
Oh,
I
she
love,
pushes my buttons.
But she went to the why. It wasn't, that's not a normal, normally it's an emotional thing. Normally at that time, okay, this is the perfect time of night where it's been known that the spouse will go into fog mode.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about. The conversation was always around fear, obligation, or guilt. But no, she was going total theory on, like she was pulling Andy Peters on Andy and going with the why, babe.
And she will, because most women know they can do that. And then all they do is sleep naked.
Right.
And then
fix everything.
Wonder if we're still mad at them or not. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, just leave. I'm sitting there journaling, and I'm like, man, why isn't my family making this money? Why isn't my friends making this money? It falls on both sides of the spectrum, and that's when I realized I'm not vocal about what I'm doing. I'm giving them education, but I'm not walking them through every single step.
Process.
So I'm going to walk them through every single, and it's up to them to watch me, to take notes, to learn and figure this out, because you can't do everything for everyone. If you handhold and do something for every single person, sooner or later they expect you to do that, and they're never going to, walk on their own, if you will. So that's when I started the whole community of, okay, I'm going to live stream my trades. I'm going to share my whole computer screen. So from
Real time.
So from 2019 until now, 6 years, I've traded my screen in live time every morning that I trade. Every morning. I don't know, because I watch a lot of the other influencers and stuff online, and not many do that. Most of them just show the before and after, because that's what's pretty.
Of their best ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean,
and I have my bad ones. I mean, like, I have my bad ones. Before I came here, I'm in some good trades, but I've got some bad trades going too. And I've not looked at my phone, so it could be a bad day when I leave this podcast. But that's what I want everyone to know, is I just want to show them the steps, and then they can see it for what it is. It's not this influencer just posting a chart, posting the profits, a screenshot of this. It's the step by step. And I did an experiment. I went on Facebook, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm just going to see. And we're refer to wife as Hannah. I keep saying wife, Hannah. So I told Hannah, I said, I'm going to go on Facebook Live, and I'm going to open up like a $1,500, $1,600 account. And I think it was like $1,300. I think it was $1,368. I said, I'm going to see how far I can grow this account in front of a Facebook audience to where they can see every move. And all the Facebook Live videos are still there. And I traded that account for like 2.5, 3 months and took it from $1,368 to like $72,000.
Are you running a $10,000 one right now?
Yeah,
Did
I'm
I
running
see
a
that?
$10,000 one right now. And
How's that going? Where's that at?
as of this morning, $138,000 in 4 months.
We should quit now, Jamie.
I mean, I don't know why we're still on this podcast.
Yeah. Let's
So
sell all the gear and just copy Andy.
I'm already sold. As you were mentioning it, I'm like, I was already halfway there.
But it
I
goes-
was about to call Hannah's youngest and be like, can you sell my shit so we can go give it to your dad?
But
Yeah.
it goes back to, I've been actively trading for 19 years. And I was in a family of traders. My dad was also a trader. My grandfather was a trader. So it's like you with your hair business. If I sat beside you every single day for 25 years, I should, in theoretically speaking, be able to go and become successful in the salon business. I should. If I'm not, something's wrong. So I tell people, it's just because you watch me for 4 months doesn't mean you're going to come out as something amazing, but you're getting to see it in real time. So you can put down, oh, well, he did that when the market did this. He did that when that happened. He did, it's like yesterday. I was like, guys, no lie. It's on my Instagram story right now if you go watch it. I was like, hey, Trump is going to, and this was yesterday. I said, Trump is going to speak today at 4 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, I'm entering a short position. And I'm going to enter another short position at 4 o'clock before the market closes. Well, why are you doing that? Because as soon as Trump gets on stage and speaks, the market's going to dump 1,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you know that? Well, because that's what's happened prior. That's what happened 5 years ago, anytime he'd get up and speak, history repeats itself. Well, what are you going to do? I'm going to risk $1,500 for that. For the first position. Then for the second position, I'm going to risk $2,500. Now, granted, I had to have that capital.
Did you go long some leaps? Like, would you maximize your leverage there on the short position?
I did. I maximized a little bit. It was only like 10% and some change. So by doing that, that ended up taking me almost $36,000 in a day and a half. But I had to be willing to lose $4,000. And see, that's the thing that a lot of people that are getting into the trading, realm, they don't want to lose anything.
Was indice? What were you?
So I was trading the Dow Jones.
Okay.
Which is indices.
Yeah.
So man, you've been watching my podcast. No. So it's like there's high risk with it to make that type of money. But even if I said I only want to risk 400, I'd still walked away with $3,600, $3,700.
True.
If I'd only risked $40, I'd have walked away with $360, dollars. So it's like the problem is people see these big numbers and they want those big numbers, but they have small capital. So if you can get big capital, you can get big numbers. That's the only thing that separates the guys that win small versus the guys that win big is the capital.
What was the strike price?
For when I entered it, I want to say it was like 41,000 and some change, and now it's like 40. This morning it was 40,600 and some change.
Did you blow out, or are you still
Still holding. I'm still holding short.
Long to short position.
I'm still holding my short positions. I entered long positions this morning.
So are you seeing a V bottom with the tariff situation? Like, what's your forecast on that?
I think everything right now is set up to just make Trump look terrible.
I concur.
That's what I think. I'm not a very political person because there's been no political party. There's been no president in this world that's ever knocked on my door and said, I want to come eat dinner with you. Outside of Obama. He come to our house and ate dinner with us. I'm just kidding. Had to throw a curveball in there. No, but no president's ever sat down in my living room and had a conversation with me. No high power authority in Congress or Senate has ever come to my house and said, Andy, how can we make your life better? So I tell people, if you ignore the news and you ignore social media and you live, the only gauge that you have is your job, client base, and or cost of products. That's really it. Outside of that, if, and 401ks, obviously, but if you think about everything else that frustrates people, makes people just want to go out and key cars, blow things up, spray paint things, did it affect you in a way that you're taking this anger out? Because you're angry at someone. What if we take this same energy and revert it back into ourselves? What if about the fact that you're upset with this political party and all the stuff they're doing over here? And let's bring that energy back and get you in better shape. Maybe get your relationship with your wife better. Maybe your relationship with your kids better. Because you'll hardly ever find someone that's acting out on a level like that, has everything going for them.
The Karen syndrome.
You really don't. Like, I've never met anyone that's went and spray painted a building or keyed a car or went in and just dumped trash in front of a local business, have an amazing life with a great family, great job. It's really don't. It's people that are typically suppressed and they're angry at someone else. So I feel like, and I said this on a podcast back in November, they asked me, what do you think is going to happen when Trump gets in office? I said, market's going to tank. We've got a hype and the market's going up. And we saw that. Call it the Trump pump. November during election, market went up.
Sure.
Inauguration, market went up.
Yesterday, yes, the futures were negative yesterday. Yeah. And then I think there was this optimism that he was going to, set the bar really high and then come in and not say just kidding, but it was going to be a more moderate increase in the tariff price. And it was like, no, he laid the wood down. Yep. And then you saw the response, after hours. And that's a great call.
Yeah. Thank you. It was it's just paying attention to how the market's emotions. So if you watch people's emotions, you can feed off of it. And when you see people angry, the market's going down. When people are angry on Facebook, angry on Instagram, angry everywhere, you got news, media arguing at each other, the market's going down. But then when everything's happy and everyone's not riding and everyone's good, the news is good, everyone on the news, channels are smiling and happy, the market's going up.
Yeah.
So if you just watch that one gauge,
euphoria,
you can pretty much trade the market with just watching how people are acting.
On the pie of Andy income, Peters Incorporated, how much of the slice, just percentage, is the trading component to all of the avenues you have flowing to
On
the
a
income fund?
month-to-month basis, oh man, it's 90%.
Over the coaching and all of the
Oh
other.
yeah. My coaching is, I started doing just basically high ticket clients. It was easier when you're doing coaching, because there for a while I was doing coaching where it's like, hey man, pay me $100 a month, I'll send you a module. You start to get people that just don't take it serious, because people would dump $100 for a meal. People would dump $100 for a gym membership somewhere. Unless they're going to like a Crunch or Plant Fitness or whatever. But I realized it wasn't causing them to engage how I wanted them to. Like if I'm coaching you and I'm sending you modules and we're working back and forth, I need you to be in this, because you're wanting to change your life. You're wanting to change, generational wealth. So I started looking at my clients that are paying $1,500, $2,000 a month. I was like, they're making strides in their life. Like I'm watching their businesses go nuts. I'm watching their relationships go crazy. I'm watching everything in their life thrive. So why can't these people? So again, I brought all my people on a Zoom. They were anywhere from $100 to $299, $300 a month. Brought them on one Zoom. I said, we're going to have one big Zoom tonight because we're going to discuss next steps that's going to change your life, okay? We're going to 2X it from this meeting. Do you know how many people showed up? Keep in mind, in that range, I've got about 30-ish clients. How many people do you think showed up for that?
10%.
Two people. I was like, I'm coming on here to, what? Because they had other things. So I tried it with my larger group, the ones that are paying the big bucks. I said, hey guys, big meeting tonight. I need you to be on. I didn't say anything about 1X, 2X. I said, all I want to do is discuss my upcoming schedule for the next few months. My dad's got cancer. It came back. I may not be available for everything. So we just need to discuss that. Every single person showed up. All of them. Not even to discuss their plans, to hear my plans. And that's when it showed me people that have to pay more for something engage more. So I started cutting out the lower tier ones, unfortunately.
The course we're working on is about dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
I love telling the story. I watched Ed Bastian, the Delta Airlines CEO, and he said that 30% of all the profit from every plane that takes off for Delta Airlines comes from the average of 8 seats in first class.
Yep.
And so that if you look at the model, you can argue that they're losing money on like the back half of
All day.
coach, because of where the dollars are coming in. And there's a reason why people have Gucci and Louis Vuitton purses, and then I don't know if the purse is necessarily that much better than another one, but your service could be life changing.
Well, and I just, I think my biggest problem is I want to help everyone. So I want to help everyone in every price structure known to man. So I still have my modules and stuff out there that people can still go and subscribe to. And if you're a $100 client and you take one of my modules and you go through it, it's going to alter and change something in your life or a business. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But the engagement just doesn't seem like it's there, because it's not. It's like you ever been to Lifetime Fitness? Mm-hmm. It's like a Lifetime Fitness. Lifetime Fitness is around $299 a month. If you got a family, you may be paying $399 to $499.
Yeah.
When people hear that, they're like, "Oh, I'd never pay that. That's dumb." Have you ever walked into a Lifetime Fitness?
Yeah, took a tour.
Have you ever walked into an Equinox?
Yep.
Here's the difference. Go into a Crunch or Planet Fitness. Now go into Equinox or a Lifetime. Everyone at those gyms, for the most part, are in unreal shape. They look great. The women are 10s across the board. They're taking care of themselves. They're doing everything. Over here, they may show up once or twice. They may put in a little bit of work. Do you know why? They're being held to a higher standard over here. And they also know they're not going to waste that money and not show up at the gym. It's like when me and Hannah, we go to Lifetime in Atlanta. I'm blown away when I go in there. It's like, this is nuts. These people are actually in here. Like every single dude in there is breaking a sweat. They are killing it. You've got the rooftop bar. You go up there. Everyone's abbed out. The women look unreal. It's like, man, this is crazy. Well, you hit that tier to where they don't want to waste that monthly. If I'm paying that, I'm showing up to use it. Top deal. So I just feel like when people can get to that point of where that price, even if maybe it's not on the radar that they can't afford it, I feel like it pushes them even harder to get there. I'm that way. If I'm hanging out in a room of 15, 20 dudes and everyone's in shape and everyone's running, eating right, I'm not going to be that one dude that's showing up with a bag of McDonald's and a Coke. I want to do what they're doing because it's in that environment. So
You had a trading group with Chatter Crypto
Yeah.
where you were trading side by side with people, and it was like a hedgie. You set up basically like a hedge fund.
Yeah.
And they were sharing in the profits. Now, do you have something like that?
So the way that Chatter Crypto was set up when we first started crypto was we created because we couldn't trade other people's funds. It'd have been cool if we would have had back then because I just told everyone put your money in Bitcoin and we'd have called it a day. So what ended up happening then was we had Doug. I don't know if you remember Doug. He was my trade guy that did all the charts for me, the redheaded kid.
Okay.
He used to work at Fit Plus.
Okay. Saw him. I didn't have a relationship.
So Doug's my main guy, but he would send out charts. So basically, we would do calls for say, hey, Ethereum is 11, 12 bucks. We're buying, $500 or $1,000 worth of Ethereum. These are the results we're looking to get, and then people would typically mimic that on the back end, on their own accounts, which went nuts. I mean, there was not a single. I think the first year that Doug put everything out, he had like a 6,800 and something % gain, which is unheard of. But I mean, crypto was early, so that was easy.
Unless your name's Nancy Pelosi, then it's not unheard of.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. But so yeah, that went really well. But then the market crashed, and when the market crashed, that just kind of killed everything. So that led into the day trading and all this stuff, which we got off track there a little bit talking about the pie chart. So a bulk majority of it is that day trading, because a lot of the other things that I'm involved in is like long-term gains. So like, stock investments.
Investing in swing trades. Right?
Exactly. So that's kind of like longer-term plays. Having my crypto portfolio, like I rarely pull out of my crypto unless I do have a Coinbase card. So like I'll look at my portfolio, and if I have something that's up like 300, 400% for the month, then I'll use that card to swipe it to spend it because it's technically free money. So, if I've got $10,000 into something and that turns into 40 grand, I've got a $30,000 buffer.
In crypto, though.
In crypto.
Not equities.
Yeah, not equities. So, But yeah, the day trading is kind of what I live on day to day. And then the crypto and stock investments and, anything. Because like I said, I'm involved in these camps that we do, which I get a percentage out of. I'm involved in some businesses with my business partners, Brad and Jeff. So we've got a quant system. We've got like a business that gets invested in seed rounds of businesses that are kickstarting. So there's so many different avenues that I'm involved in.
Get your little Shark Tank going?
Man, yeah, we do. And it's wild. Companies come to us. We've had some come to us with, man, we need to raise a $10 million raise. It's like, cool. And we knock it out in like 24 hours. We've got a really good group of people that we send stuff like that to. So we kicked that off 3 years ago now.
Okay.
So set my hands in the pot a little bit of everything. But day trading is my go-to, just 'cause it's so much fun. It doesn't matter if I make $100. It doesn't matter if I make $10,000. It just makes me feel good to click a button, make that money, and say, man, I'm doing something that everyone else can do. They just have to figure this craft out. That's it.
So let's talk about the pool of money that is day trading. Mm-hmm. How much of it is with crypto, and how much do you have in U.S. equities for the trading? I'm not talking about investing, but like trading. How much? What's the split there?
So I would say my crypto holdings are always going to be bigger. I'd say like 60-40.
Okay.
About 60-40 is where I'm at. Because crypto is down a little bit right now. That number will increase, obviously, when crypto goes up. But, Bitcoin's obviously up massively since when we were investing in it.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, about 60-40 split.
So tell me what your thoughts are on an alternative currency. You kind of seen the erosion of the U.S. dollar right now, and a lot of places are talking about using crypto as a reserve.
Yeah.
And so, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what are you hearing in the underground about?
It's all hype.
Okay.
It's all hype. People, and being I consider myself an OG getting in crypto when I did, but a lot of these OG guys think that it's going to be what's run our country. It's what you're going to use when you go to the grocery store. And when you go, and you can, like I've got a Coinbase card that I can swipe and use my crypto, but we're not there yet. The utility that we have behind these crypto projects, it's just for people to make money.
Yeah.
I could start an HBI coin tomorrow, and you could say, as long as you hold 10,000 of these coins in HBI coin, you can come get your hair a blowout once a month for free. 10,000 coins may only cost them $50. And then you'd say, but if you hold 100,000 coins which could cost them $500, will do any hairstyle you want once every 2 months. And you can put that out tomorrow. We could build that for you and get it out where people could purchase it. Well, all you're doing on the back end of HBI is you're investing 10 grand. Well, every time someone comes in and buys 10,000 coins, 100,000 coins, $500,000 coins, your 10 grand could substantially be $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. It may get to a point where your HBI coin that you're holding is worth $1 million. I think I'm going to sell it. Well, why would you do that, Jamie? Because I just made $990,000. Well, when you sell it, the people that are holding the coin, their utility doesn't change. You're still going to take care of their blowout. You're still going to take care of their hairstyle. They just have to hold that amount. So then you sell.
So if you sell, how are they redeeming?
Well, they're redeeming it because you're giving them a service.
The utility for them is in the service.
Correct.
They're not trying to make money. You're the one trying to make money.
Okay, so but but when you say if they maintain it,
So yeah, they just have to hold it in a wallet. Just the coin amount, not the dollar amount, the coin amount.
okay.
So once they hold those coins,
They hold on to their coin in their own wallet.
Yep.
I thought it was going into this pool.
no, they hold on to it in their own wallet, and then you sell yours. You make $800,000, $900,000, and the price drops. Well, you know what that does? Now that makes more people in this area want to go and buy it because they can get that blowout cheaper now. They can get the hairstyle once every 2 months cheaper, so they go and buy. But they didn't know it. You took your money and you put $100,000 back into it, and they're buying. And you turn that $100,000 to $500,000, and you sell it again. That's all crypto is right now. Crypto is a large group of people that are making money every single day off other people buying the hype of a utility. That's it.
But usually there's not actually utility, like in a lot of meme coins, which
No,
is
the meme coins have no utility.
yeah. What do you think about XRP and systems that are trying to solve payment speed between countries?
I think it's going to get there.
Yeah.
XRP, because most people are looking at crypto as a way to make money. No one gets involved in crypto and says, I don't care to make money. I'm just supporting a utility. Everyone wants to make money.
Yeah.
So when people hit me up, they're like, what do you think about XRP? I'm like, it's got a $10 cap in it. $10, $12 cap is about where we're at. So it's like par $2 and some change right now.
Yeah.
So you've got about a 5x multiplier. It's not bad.
Yeah.
You put 10 grand in it, at its all-time peak, that's where it should be. But you'll hear people say, well, no, it's going to get to $1,000. It's like, guys, if XRP got to $1,000, that would be every dime in circulating in the whole U.S. being one utility coin, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, one alternative coin. That's not going to happen. So you've got to look at the market cap and all that stuff. So I think XRP will be good. You've got other things like, HBAR and a few others that are doing really well. But we're not there. It's terrible. There's too many crooked politicians that still have a ton of cash. So people are talking about like we got to get this digital society. Cash is going to be around. In my lifetime, your lifetime, and your lifetime, cash isn't going nowhere.
How are they going to pay the illegals that they're trying to pump into the country?
That's my.
If you're going to let them on, you got to pay them somehow.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's so many under-table deals.
Okay, so per the update, we're out of juice, and I feel like I was just getting started. I still haven't got to so many things. So clearly, we're setting ourselves up for part two, and maybe we can get a little more in depth into more of the processes and break down some of the individual projects and getting into sort of the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I'd love that.
It could be interesting to revisit the music, and I didn't even get a chance to get into like the whole nonprofit side. We touched on it with the music, but you did Dollar Club, and there's obviously other ways that you're trying to give back, and it seems very genuine. And so when I think about Andy, I think about authentic, and I think genuine. Those are two words that come to mind.
Yeah, we've got, me and my business partners, our company, Algotech, has built houses overseas, dug wells. I think, and I don't know if this number is dead on point. I'd have to talk to Jeff, but I think 60% of what our company's made every year, we give that back to another, whether it's local, whether it's within our own communities or, in other countries where it's really needed. It's a 60% give back. So pretty substantial, I feel like.
Well, the karma, you got to pay it forward, and what goes around comes around. All that
agree.
Kind of good stuff. All right, well, let's do this again. You got any parting words, Andrew?
This is great, man. The stuff on being a dad and being a good husband, I felt like that was gold. And if that's all that people get from this, then I feel like that's a treasure in itself right there.
Man. And thanks for having me. And obviously, Jamie, thanks for supporting us at Fit Plus when we had it, and everything else, friendship. Oh, there it went.
That was ours, but you keep going.
And another thing I want to say was, Andrew, it's always been a pleasure meeting you. You may not know it, but when we met at Council Fire that night, and you were sharing your story of how you do your health, how you do those things, it actually caused me to get back into my health game, because I went back home and I told my wife, I was like, I know this stuff. I grew up in this environment. We had businesses in this environment. I mean, I was like, it was meant for me to be there tonight, because I heard how this guy structured his day. I heard how he takes care of himself, the food he eats, and all those things that he did. Why can't I do that? Well, people would say, oh, because he's young. And my clock's the same as his. My eyes are going to open just like his, and my feet are going to hit the floor just like his. So what's keeping me from moving how I should be? So, I mean, just so you know, you played a huge role in me getting back in that, because it inspired me. I needed that inspiration, because as a coach, and you know this with people you've coached, over time, you give so much of yourself and you're focused on so many other people that you tend to almost leave yourself out. And I'd fallen in that point. I had, because I was giving to my kids, I was giving to my wife, I was giving to friends, I was giving to my parents, I was giving to people I was coaching, I was giving to my communities, I was giving to all these things that when it came to me, my excuse was, it's going to be hard for me to make this work because I'm giving so much. But I was like, what about if I can just take 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here? Now I've got an hour for myself. So you inspired that, just so you know.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
I like hearing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very cool. All right. Thanks for the time.
Oh, man. Thank y'all.
We'll do this again.
Most definitely.
Cool.